Hey everyone, it's Teddy, aka JamesKisau on MTGO, and we're back for another edition of How to Play Control in Legacy. I'm not even gonna fool around with this joke again. Y'all saw the name of the video, and we know that today we are addressing problem matchups. I have a lot of people come to me and say, like, oh, this deck has been giving me a lot of trouble, and it's a daunting matchup, which affects the mental, which we talked a lot about in the last video, playing from behind, and a little bit in the second video where we were talking about format knowledge. And having a strategy be daunting can really affect the way you craft your lines. It can be overwhelming and generally does not set you up to be successful in the matchup. So the advice I give those people is that if you have the ability, play the deck that's giving you trouble. Then you get to see a real inside perspective and you get to see all the moving pieces, and it will probably elucidate a lot of their weaknesses. I recognize in a format like Legacy, where the decks are often extremely expensive, that can be difficult to do, but I'll link a couple sites in the description where you can kind of build decks and click like sample hands. So you, at the very least, if a matchup's giving you a lot of trouble and you don't have access to actually pilot it, you can generate hands and get a feel for how the start of their game often looks. And this next suggestion is like a lot of work, but proxying or taking draft chaff, if you are in a position to be able to deface cards, you can sharpie up a deck and play it like that. You might not be able to go to many competitive spots doing something like that, but it's helpful training, I've found. It's something I've done before. The two decks I've been getting the most feedback about for being a problem matchup when you're playing control are Nadu and Reanimator. Also, sorry that I'm still calling it Reanimator. I know most people call it Blue-Black Reanimator or just Reanimator, but in my heart and head, Reanimator is the black-red deck and Reanimator is the blue-black deck. I know my naming is kind of weird. I was also calling Jeskai Control Miracles when there's not really any miracles in the deck. And I chose Blue-Black Reanimator over Nadu for this lesson because I think it will be a smoother video. I don't have a lot of experience playing Reanimator, almost none in fact, but I have even less experience playing Nadu. It's the one deck I've never really dove into, and no one's sent in a donation league for Nadu, so I haven't had a reason to play it. It's also a creature combo deck, so I feel like those heuristics were pretty neatly summarized in the prior lessons, whereas Reanimator is such a tricky deck. Not only does it have a combo plan, but it has an incredibly powerful tempo plan as well, with efficient creatures, tricky creatures, creatures with flash, creatures with no power but the ability to end the game effectively. And it's also a deck with Wasteland, so I think this really hits all the sweet spots. And I know there are some versions of Nadu that run Wasteland, but there aren't that many. I think Blue-Black Reanimator really hits the whole spectrum of tricky lines. So if we go through this league while thinking about the other side of the table being on control, hopefully we can learn a thing or two, and it'll help bring to light the best ways to approach the matchup. It's also the most played deck in Legacy, so I think choosing Reanimator will just be more useful overall than choosing Nadu, even if the Nadu matchup could be a little trickier. There's something a lot more elemental about Reanimator. We don't have to worry about color-specific answers like Red Blast or stuff like that. We don't have to worry about card disadvantage with our removal spells and targeting Nadu and stuff. When this deck is on tempo mode, the creatures all trade 1-for-1 essentially, which is really nice. Not Bowmasters, of course, because that creates a 1/1 token if the ETB resolves, but cards like Baragoyf, Douthie Voidwalker, Murktide Regent, Brazen Borrower, even Tamiyo, if it doesn't make a clue token, can all be traded with 1-for-1. And I think that'll also be a useful tool to illustrate what you're trying to hopefully accomplish when you're trying to beat Blue-Black Reanimator as a control deck. As for the list, I don't really remember how this came to be. I think it probably started with one of Michael Reed's lists, Eureka 22422, fantastic player, amazing pilot, and I think I just switched a couple things over time. I don't think this is anywhere near the most viable version of Reanimator, but it's one that I look like and feel like I can do a competent job piloting. I suppose that is it for preamble. This is the fourth in the series, and I promised on the fifth one we'd do Grixis Control, so we're almost there. You just gotta suffer through one more, and we'll be playing Blue-Black Reanimator, which might seem kind of funny, but I do think a huge part of playing Control is getting inside the problem matchups and seeing how they work on a mechanical level. And that should really help you not only craft lines, but also be able to maybe find weaknesses and patterns that you would have never really been able to glean otherwise if you hadn't actually played the deck itself. I think that's about it for preamble here. Liking, commenting, subscribing goes a huge way. Check out the Patreon. It is a huge help to me to keep the channel going. And yeah, let's jump in there. Well, I'm on the draw. And this hand would be good if these lands weren't Undercity Sewers. So that's the only way I think this could fall apart. Because people are incentivized to often counter Entomb. That's not often true on Grixis Control, because we kind of want to 2-for-1 our opponent by trading Cling to Dust for Reanimate and Entomb, technically. So we're already inside the Reanimator player's head, so to speak, but I feel like I can't. I feel like as a Reanimator pilot, I don't think I would send back a protected Entomb Reanimate. Wasteland is another concern. But yeah, this hand, it's a little bit on the edge. Pinnacle Emissary. I think we'll be able to race this. I think we should be trying to protect our own combo. Yeah, it was just a bobble after all. And we might still top deck a untapped land. Bowmasters. Alright, play Sewers. It's not a black source. I believe we do not keep Wasteland here. Emery. Yeah, I think we can erase that too. None of this card advantage really matters in the face of, like, Atraxa. Although I do see that Grindstone over there. Brazen Barber. Alright, play that. I'm gonna cast Entomb anyways, but I do want this in the deck, so I'll put it on top. And they'll look at that Force of Will. Not the biggest deal. That Mishra's Bauble getting looped by Emery is quite a bit, but I just really need to get this Force of Will through. Second Pinnacle Emissary, sure. So Archon, clearly not the right choice here. I think it'd be too hard to chew through this board, even though you do get a Lightning Helix every attack trigger. It just doesn't seem like the best choice. They've got a couple emissaries in Warp right now. 5 cards in hand. See what they do about Entomb. It's very unfortunate for them if they fight over this. But assuming I was on Grixis Control and assuming I had a now I get to draw the second force. A Cling to Dust. Well, that would be pretty good for us. Grab Atraxa. We might have to go to discard though. So that part's not so great. Alright, we'll take 3 cards, which is not great. We get instant, land, and creature. Pretty paltry. But I think we'll still be okay. I'm really going to respect my life total here just in case something weird happens. Like Aether Spellbomb. Got my wish. I didn't have to go to discard. Cast Tameo. We've got double force. But yeah, Emery is definitely outgrinding Atraxa right now. We'll let them cast the Lotus Petal. Grindstone. Yeah, that one's fine. Soul Guide Lantern. That one's also fine. I won't be able to send again very easily, but, I mean, I already cast 2 Entombs. Kind of a lot. Ooh, Wasteland, that's pretty good. Yeah, we'll just use it. If I had known they were hurting for mana so badly... Well, yeah, I think I'm still supposed to surveil that Wasteland away on turn 1. Try and hit an untapped source, because if I had done this all turn earlier, it would have been even better. Back up to 18 is nice. Cast Brainstorm, and then hide Brazen Borrower on top. Or wait, sorry. I'm doing this wrong. It's a Bauble deck. You're not supposed to... Yeah, putting things on top of your library is not hiding them. We gotta chuck through this stuff, though, because they can recast Painter a million times out of the graveyard. So there is an expiration date here. Bauble. Well, I mean, if they crack the Bauble, Bowmasters can defeat Emery. I'll have to waste some mana, but I think it is worth it. Could also bounce Emery with Brazen Borrower. This deck can really do it all. I find this more effective than clearing the drone token. We can play a little bit of control here. I think that hand was going to be pretty hard to beat after I got the second Force. I think if they had Soul Guide Lantern and the Force of Will, then they probably could have outvalued us in the long run, because I made the conscious decision to just ignore Emery and go for a reanimation plan. Murktide Regent might not even be as game-ending as it normally is if they have a lot of drone tokens. I think Pinnacle Emissary must be a 4 of. So we'll take Engineered Explosives and Null Rod. Consign is probably decent. Baragorf is probably very good, because you want the biggest creature. I think we ought to plan for graveyard interaction, so I'll take another Brazen Borrower as well, even though it does not line up well against the drone tokens. That might actually be a reason to have less. Like, Null Rod would be able to take care of most of their graveyard hate, I would think, if they can't activate Spell Bombs or Soul Guide Lanterns and stuff like that. Thoughtseize I'm not crazy about, although they do have counter magic. I might be just exposing that I don't know how to play Reanimator. I think they'll have Urza's Saga. So why don't we trim a Entomb, an Animate Dead, and actually I think I'm more inclined to cut all the Dazes before any of the reanimation effects. This has got to be a keep. You'll often get... So the biggest thing I actually learned about fighting Reanimator when I first tried it out was that you'll often just get free value because people will visualize that turn 2 Entomb Reanimate and mulligan to a way to stop that. Meanwhile, you can just keep a normal value hand and you're pretty far ahead, especially on the draw. So it was at that point, when I was on Grixis control, I stopped mulliganing a lot. Which is like, you know, a pretty debatable strategy, but it seemed to work out all right in the long run. I think I'm going to let that resolve and focus more on petty theft and a wasteland, getting the job done here. We can kind of get a gauge for how much mana they're operating with. But if their hand is like double force, double blue card right now, we'll see. I have slight doubts that they're going to be able to... Oh, that was good. Generate constructs. I don't need land number 4, I don't think. Technically land number 5. Oh, well. Well, I stand corrected. Okay. Send it back. I think they're going to go all the way in on these constructs, and once they do that, it's still not wise to go after the Chalice, because they might be able to redeploy it even if they have another Soul Land in their hand. So even though doing it right now would seem to play around like Metallic Rebuke and something like that, it's just not the right strategy. And 8-cast has a very difficult role in this matchup. They're trying to play control to a certain extent because they can't keep up with the giant Reanimator monster. They want to have the biggest creature with these constructs, but at the same time, they do need to beat down. There's a lot of fluff in their deck. The longer the game goes on, the more likely they are to just draw random stuff like Lotus Petal or Mox Opal. Yeah, Emery resolves. It's still a little too dangerous to petty theft right now. I feel like they could just go Soul Land. They haven't made a land drop yet. So the life loss is rough, but here we are. Alright, petty theft your Chalice. Something I could do right now is brainstorm into Reanimate. Either way, we're really going to want to unload these 1-drops. Might not be possible. I could also just get Tamiyo on the field, which is quite good. Yeah, I need these 1-drops to go. But I still think I'm putting back 2 lands. I'll ponder first. Because if I see like Entomb, Animate, Dead, well, that wouldn't really work, would it? Okay. Take Barragoyf. Might need to just jump block with Emery, we'll see. I was supposed to put this Archon back as well. I'm a fool. Whoops. Barragoyf is the goal here. And I would think they want to reestablish the Chalice. Pinnacle Emissary? Barragoyf can probably still just race this. I'm thinking. Yeah. I think it's really important to protect Barragoyf. Although at this rate I do need to just jump block. Yeah, that was stupid. I wasn't thinking about the scaling constructs either. So good. So good. Ooh, I screwed up. I screwed up really bad. Does this even work? I block with Barragoyf. I chump with Barragoyf more like. Yeah, no, this is bad. I screwed up. I was supposed to force the Pinnacle Emissary. Ooh! Alright, bring back days. We're on the play. It's time to go fast. I think Bowmaster is, while kind of decent for the matchup, is not really what our role is in the matchup. Like, I would never side these out in Grixis control. But for this, it seems we can do much more powerful things. Tamiyo's a bit of a nombo with Null Rod. And it's very good against drone tokens. And maybe I don't need Consign. I think I'm thinking too much like Grixis control there. Yep. We'll keep. It's unprotected. So I think I'm actually supposed to lead with Tamiyo here. This hand is strong. Barragoyf really makes up for a lot here. Bobble. Lava Spur Boots, that's a scary card. Mox Opal. Do you have Emery? Damn, this hand is good. And there isn't anything for me to reanimate out of there. No surprise Kappa Cannoneer, which also goes off hard with Tamiyo. Okay, I'll flip Tamiyo here. Or will I? Yeah, they would need a soul land to equip and then attack. And I think that's a healthy distraction while I'm doing stuff around the corner. The lack of land is rough. No force will either, just 3 ponders. It's a little rough, not gonna lie. Put those on top and then mill one of them, I suppose. Plus into the yard. I'll draw another one next turn. But yeah, the ideal is just Entomb Reanimate. Grabbing a Lotus Petal. And then nothing. Okay, no land. That's pretty good for me. So their Graveyard Hate comes online next turn. We gotta do this now. They could also get, what's it called? Spellbomb? Not Azure Spellbomb. God, why can't I remember what it's called? The one that bounces. Okay, so they have the force, and they forced the right thing this time. I might get rolled. Yeah, we'll plus. If they don't attack Tamiyo, I can get my Reanimate back. And it looks like they can't make another construct either. Unless they have a weird way to generate mana like Simian Spirit Guide or something. That seems highly unlikely. I'm anticipating a Soul Guide Lantern? Yeah. So we'll be pivoting onto Barragoyf now. But if I come across something like Null Rod, I could also turn that off and then Entomb Reanimate at some point. Shadow Spear? Oh god. That's very bad. That's incredibly bad. Now they can equip Boots and Shadow Spear. Decline the Boots. Alright, you know what? I wouldn't mind Fatal Push either. We gotta fix this hand. And there's Fatal Push, nice. We can put an Entomb away. And they can pay for days, but yeah, they can pay for days. Maybe I just put days away as well. Bank a Ponder. I should probably Ponder right now and look for backup, in fact. Oh, you know what? If they have Metallic Rebuke, that would have been a reason to keep that days. Force of Will it is. Followed up by Null Rod, I guess. Just keep putting off this Baragloif. I'm the control deck again. And if they had equipped the Lava Spur boots, it would have had Ward 1. So I just wouldn't have pondered. I would have just gone for it, probably. But yeah, interesting stuff. Is this Chalice on 1? No, it's Kappa Cannoneer. I think you're supposed to just tap your pedal in that scenario. It's a little fast, isn't it? I'll force. This doesn't really help though, does it? Because of Emery? Yeah, I screwed up. Although it might turn off their blue mana until they find a blue land. It would need to be an island since Null Rod also turns off Seed of the Synod, which is pretty nice. Sad I wasn't able to use my clue token beforehand. But yeah, there's just no time for otherwise. We've taken a lot of turns back and forth being the control deck, that's for sure. We'll see if Baragloif can do this. We gotta look out for Urza's Saga. Probably in some weird world there was an argument that Fatal Push target was actually Emery. Baragloif trade with Construct. I don't know though. Like now they're just attacking with Emery. I think I made the right choice. Baragloif. And this is why this deck is so difficult to approach and so difficult to control. They did an excellent job stopping me from getting an Atraxa. But adding blue to your Reanimator deck can make it so that I can tread water and have high consistency. That's the thing you really need to remember. The high amount of consistency that blue gives you makes your Reanimator deck insane. I'll take some Bowmasters, please. Play Tamiyo. Getting the GGs. But no concession yet, so I'll happily keep playing. Thoughtseize. Oh, they did not. That's right, it was not a Chalice. It was like Kappa Cannoneer. Let's take Pyroblast, I guess? No, let's take Pinnacle Emissary. It's time to just kind of end the game. Really no point to attack with Tamiyo. I mean, if they ever address the Null Rod, I guess that would be a reason. Take Brazen Barber. I could bounce Emery. That's actually a really good idea. One more turn, I think I had a kill on you. Well, GG. It's very possible. Can get an extra 2 points of damage here. And this is a forced block. But this line was not great, because now I can't play Brazen Barber next turn. I don't really feel like I'm... Okay, cool, yeah. Alright. We have a Pyroblast. I think this is wrapped. Even if they play a blocker... Well, they could play another Emery, I guess. I mean, I'll do the right thing. Cast Brazen Barber. Speaking of the right thing, probably should have gotten basic Swamp there, because I think these decks have adopted Harbinger the Seas as well. Alright. I think this might be the first how to play control video that does better than 2-3. And unsurprisingly, we're playing not a control deck. Welcome back for round number 2. How to play control using Reanimator as a lens into problem matchups. And we're up against my good buddy Trock, who plays at my LGS. Really great person. I remember when I was still pretty new to the format and playing at the LGS, I was playing Grixis Control, of course. It was one of my first Paper Legacy events, and I was up against Troc, and they were playing a pretty wild Yorion, Devoted Druid, Swift Reconfiguration, combo control, or control pile with a combo finish. And after the match, they could tell I was kind of lost, and they were like, "Oh, let's jam some more games," and played some, brought out some Blizzard's Madness to play, and just helped me get more oriented with the format. Just a real great part of Legacy, and a true friend of the format and community. I think we're probably playing against their signature deck, yes, the Orion Ephemerate Spellseeker. And I think I'm going to try and just, yeah, do something like this. Just really barrel ahead. I'll keep in bottom Undercity Sewers. We got Tamiyo and Tomb Reanimate and a Wasteland to potentially mess things up. And it's very important for us to get black mana so I can send it and Entomb Reanimate next turn. Because if they happen to be playing Death and Taxes, just won the Showcase Challenge. Shout out Adam. We'll want to... Whoa, Ancient Tomb. Whoa! Whoa! Whoa. And that's exactly what you want to draw. We'll definitely Wasteland. Because we ain't doing too much right now. They have a Planar Nexus. What kind of Yorion big mana strategy is this? Bowmasters is probably not bad. They likely have the One Ring at their disposal. Somewhere in there. I will say this is probably more the kind of deck that would Pithing Needle Wasteland than play their own. Whoa. And now we can also get to see what kind of weaknesses Reanimator has naturally. Not that a control deck would often play Chalice of the Void, although in the last video, we played a control deck that had Chalice of the Void in it, 4-color Loam. But you start to see the pressure points, and you start to see how important Brazen Borrower is to this deck. Animate dead. Yeah, I think the plan will probably be discard to hand size. It's not like an amazing plan. And that Cloud Post is currently tapping for 3. Yikes. Alright, it's going to be very difficult to not play this Rainforest. I guess I still could play this Rainforest, though. Yeah, I still could. Because flipping Tamiyo also feels like a fine thing to do. Activate this clue. Hopefully hit Force a Will. Oh, Murktide Region? That's not bad either. Alright, we'll go to cleanup. Dump Atraxa. They'll see it coming. A mile away. Surprise! Yeah, this is an old Reanimator trick. The One Ring, yep. It's an old Reanimator trick to discard to hand size. You don't do it very often. Bin Reanimate. Well, let's see if I can get away with this. Animate the dead. Dress down. That's pretty good. I was expecting like, Kozilek's Command. Something normal. I should have attacked first. I was not expecting Dress Down in a million years. Although maybe Yorion should have tipped me a little bit there. So I don't get all the cool stuff. I do get a 7/7 with all those stats, which is cool. 6/7 rather. I should put this in the graveyard for Murktide Regent. They have a ton of mana, a ton of cards. It's not looking particularly good. Blue Cloud Post. Is this Ugin? Portent of Calamity. This is a card that shows up in modern Bluetron. It's very good. So they get to cast this Ugin for free. Or would they rather cast this stock up? I think it's definitely the Ugin. Yep. Surprise, surprise. Given that Ugin can kind of just gun the board down, Murktide's not going to pull this one out either. Ugin's very good. I don't see any reason to play Karn anymore with Ugin around. Seeing as like the whole cool thing about Karn was that you could -3 to exile a permanent, whereas Ugin does that just by casting it. I mean, Karn could exile colorless permanents, including lands, which is sick, but all the same, most of the time that doesn't matter that much. All right, let's go to game 2. Well, I do have these Bowmasters. It's not over yet. Damn it. Oh, there's Force of Will. Surprise number 2. Oh, I think I knew they had that. All good, all good. All right. Null Rod seems great. Do I need Bitter Triumph? I hope not. Consign to Memory seems good. Additional Brazen Borrowers and Force Negations are also very good. We'll need to really focus on doing our thing very quickly. But if there's cards that aren't very good, I could get more threat dense as well. Like Fatal Push. I feel like Tamiyo is also not that great. Like, you're trying to essentially get up to 8 loyalty on the Planeswalker side, dodging Ugin the whole time. That seems very unrealistic. Wasteland seems very good. Murktide Regent seems like okay. I think Murktide is better than Baragoyf. Douthie Voidwalker is probably the hardest one for them to block in general, and not to mention it synergizes with their busted spells and my Thoughtseize. But that is like a very idealistic situation I'm outlining. I think I'd rather have Bowmasters in that slot. You could also argue Daze is not very good because it's a big mana deck, but we're on the play, and they might have counter magic. So I'm going to keep Daze in. I suppose we could trim one of them. Hold on. I think the blue count might be not laughable. It's better than my Grixis control blue count, in fact. Never mind. I feel like if I cut anything, it'd be like Consign to Memory, because I don't want to like slow down that much, but it's probably just a necessary part of the equation. I guess I'll trim the last Tamiyo. It just does not seem good. I don't know. Not to mention if my whole game plan revolves around getting a Null Rod. Yeah, I think this is fine. Like, Wasteland is good, Consign is good. I'm sure I can find a way to combo with this Brainstorm. And then Dazing a Chalice also seems kind of cool. Cloud Post. Alright. Cast Brainstorm. Hopefully hit Entomb. Money. Put back Force of Negation. Draw the Entomb. And I think we go Archon here. Is that true? No, I think we go Atraxa. Well, Archon clocks faster. And given the contents of my hand, I think that's the way to go. Ah, it just worked. Null Drifter. Oh my. Yeah, this is like the best Delver deck by far. Imagine if your Delver was Archon of Cruelty. Wasteland or attack first? I guess Wasteland. Take out the Nexus. Get another trigger. Should have this done next turn. I drew Brainstorm. Just pass. Could have looked for Thoughtseize. Alright, well, they're hanging on. I mean, I could look for Bowmasters. There we go. Damn, sometimes it feels like this deck just plays itself. Back it up with double Daze and a Force of Will. That's just disgusting. Lorien revealed. Force of Will. Bowmasters. Insane. Your deck's not always going to deliver everything you need. But when it does, on the control side, it can feel a little frustrating. But I also want to break down the barriers and use this video as a way to show you how much went right for me in that situation. So now that I'm on the draw, was there anything I was going to change? Oh yeah, I was going to play without Daze, which means I could be more threat dense. And yeah, I think Voidwalkers are like the least likely to be blockable. And they come down sooner than Baragoyf. This hand is like a real mishmash. But the Null Rod is there. And I have Force Negation. I think it's absolutely a keep. But there are ways it goes wrong. I drew a land. Does that mean I can just wasteland right now? I think so. They'll float, and then island cycle. I guess we'll play the turn 1 over again. I feel like Null Rod is not lights out for them, but it checks one of their very important permanents. So that I like. Brainstorm was a good draw. Gotta be a little careful here. Glimmer Post. It's an unfortunate card. Cast Brainstorm. I don't know if I should really jam into Reanimate into their 6-card hand with 2 open mana, and I don't have any way to protect it. Force Negation doesn't even work on my turn. But I think I will play patiently and just like cast Entomb on their turn. At the very least, it starts putting cards in the graveyard for... Yeah, see, Dress Down would have kind of blown me out in its own weird way. Are they going to play Null Drifter? I guess I could Petty Theft the Dress Down if they do that. It's not the most incredible line. I don't think they're going to Null Drifter. Alright, that goes down. Cast Entomb. Okay. I think we want Atraxa in this situation. Then I'll go ahead and Surveil, Ponder. Yeah. I'll look for some backup here. No backup. Just more ways to like distract. Let's see if they care about this. I might be thinking too much. Maybe I was just supposed to reanimate Atraxa. This feels like they did not take the bait. They had another Dress Down anyways that I could not really interact with. I could have tried to like Petty Theft it. Or no, I didn't have enough mana to do both of those things. Okay. I mean, that's pretty good. It's not Atraxa, but it's pretty good. This is where Exhume would come in handy, right? Do they just not care about it? Do they not care about Null Rod? What happens if I try to bounce? Nothing. Alright, I mean, I think this is the right thing to do. Very macabre. Yeah, they were ready. They still get to wonder if I have a daze, though. I think they definitely had that. They kept 7. Like, I don't think they just drew that last turn. Craft Digger's Cage. I don't have any more Reanimates in my hand. I think I let that go. And try and beat their 6-card hand with my creatures? Oh man, I couldn't even say that with a straight face. But yeah, double spelling seems of the utmost importance. How do you like that? For a Glimmer Post deck, they don't have that much mana. They could have played Dress Down and left me with a 3/3 Murktide. However, then they wouldn't have been able to do this. They have a Dress Down, so playing Bowmasters here just doesn't do anything. It's very good. Now they have a Cloud Post and a backup cage. It's cool. Whatever. Alright, play Bowmasters. I don't think they're gonna want to jump with Null Drifter. So yeah, we'll just see if we can get over the line here with my Force Negation. Attack! Nice. We hate Annihilator though, yes we do. I think I'll drop this Rainforest. Stock up? Can I afford to fight over that? I feel like I just need to really fight over anything that fights my Murktide and ignore the rest. I feel like the attack with Null Drifter isn't really that free. I have so many lands, you know? And I feel like I just said this a second ago, but for a big mana deck, they don't have that much mana. I mean, they have 6. Next turn, they could possibly cast Ugin, which would be a huge problem unless I rip Consign. Another stock up? What am I going to draw? Animate Dead? No thanks. Oh, I wish I did this second main, but Trock is too good for that. Because if they attack, I really want to deploy Brazen Borrower. Just really try and scrape over the line here. Yeah. I think even if they don't attack, I just play Brazen Borrower. Yeah, they don't attack. Because they are good. And I guess I entomb. 4 entomb. The classic play. Ditching a Portent. Not a great draw. I feel like even by Annihilator standards, it doesn't matter. I don't want to run one of my creatures into Null Drifter. Ooh. Oh, Ugin! Yeah, Consign would have been pretty big here, huh? I like to say to myself, maybe that's not true. Okay, we countered Ugin. I lose Murktide. Still winning the race. Help. Alright, Brainstorm. This is why I didn't cast the Marsh Flats. Oh my god. True pain. I think the good news is that Wastelanding doesn't do all that much, right? Like if I Wasteland Cloudpost, it takes him off like 3 mana, so it'd have 6 left over. I mean, I probably have to, but then I'm drawing another land. It's not good. But yeah, I feel like they do something really bad. Also, hitting the Cloudpost feels possibly wrong. Like, what am I supposed to hit Planar Nexus? I don't know. If they go for Yorion at some point, maybe this Null Rod is doing tons of work. I don't know. Eye of Ugin? Okay, it's a good thing I destroyed the Cloudpost. I can't activate it yet. Draw a land. Your turn. Curious why they did not get Yorion. Oh, because they have something cool to do. Shocking I haven't seen Kozilek's command yet. Until right now. This is probably the end. Urza's Tower. Making it seem pretty foolish that I did not destroy Planar Nexus. Another Ugin. If they gain life, we can pack it up. I mean, even if they don't gain life this turn, like I don't have Shieldred's Edict or anything. I didn't counter it. So, I mean, you know. Okay. They did not gain life. The One Ring. Exile my dude. Get protection from everything. Yeah, this Null Rod seems kind of bad. I am locked out of the game. It's highly possible I played this way too conservatively, but I don't think the hand even really makes sense if they didn't already have that Fairy Macabre, you know? GG's as always. And this might be the kind of deck that is good against blue-black Reanimator. Maybe. Maybe not, though. Because it could be a little slower. Or maybe it's not that slow. It has Force of Will, and a lot of dress downs, apparently. At least 3. So yeah, good games, Trock. We are now 1-1. Okay. Match 3. How to play Control and Legacy. Problem matchups featuring blue-black Reanimator. We're in the 3rd match right now. And I think this hand's pretty suspect. There's no reanimation spell. We have one of our targets in our hand, which is kind of rare for this deck because there's only 2 in the 60. That's a clear mulligan. This one's not much better, but I think we do keep on 6. Oh no, we're on the play right now. I think we go to 5 and really try to send it. Opponent's also taking a mulligan. Yeah, I mean, they're going to 5. I don't think I should go to 4. We're still like a fair deck at the end of the day. And also, if they're going to 5, like, should I keep this forced blue card situation? I think so. Oh shit, I just hit mulligan. Well, I think this is the best hand yet. God damn. Alright. Put away Archon, obviously, then Flooded Strand and Brazen Barber. Now it's time to put my combo together with Ponder. Entomb, but a couple of duds. Let's shuffle. Beautiful. We can do this. Sewers? This might be the mirror. In which case we can't really entomb unless we have the perfect window. Oh, Street Wraith? So this is probably Doomsday? Street Wraith does not show up in many decks, and only really shows up in one alongside blue mana. Oh, Wasteland. pretty good when the opponent mulligans. It also means I can just entomb freely as well. Chromox. Okay, I was not expecting that. Burning Wish? Okay, yeah, this is something quite interesting, I think. Lion's Eye Diamond. Gamble. Echo, hit the bin. Another diamond? Sure. Let's see you go all in here. Yeah, you gotta. Force. Although, part of me would have actually really appreciated a new hand. But I think I have better top decks than them from here. With a Traxa in the yard. Okay, okay. They have a lot of rebuilding to do from 0 cards and only 1 red mana. That was probably their best draw. Now it's time for me to find one of 5 cards in my deck with a little help from Undercity Sewers. Murktide Regent? I think that's honestly a fine draw. The objective right now is to win. And a 6/6 Murktide should do the trick. It's a little funny now that we're something of the control deck in this scenario. Storm potentially wins a lot faster than Blue-Black Reanimator. So it falls to our discard spells and our counter magic to make sure nothing too crazy happens. Alright, Brainstorm, let's hit. We do not. That's fine. I probably want that Brainstorm though. I also should have bluffed. It's also possible I should have taken that other Murktide. Although they can't even really crack a fetch from this position. I think we're in pretty good shape. Here's a tough question. Do I Surveil? That would mean I can't hit Animate Dead, so that seems kind of bad. We'll just do that. Double Bowmasters? Okay. That will take a turn off the clock. Then I'll bin the other copy just in case something really weird happens, but I think we're probably in the clear. But there's definitely combinations of 3 cards that they could have that would really screw things up here. Even if they have Veil Summer, we'll still have 7 power beating down. Alright, Storm. I think Hydroblast is perfectly fine here. It hits Burning Wish and Gamble, and Song of Creation, and Hardcast Runehorn Hellkite. You know that's coming. Take Force of Negation as well. Surgical. Douthie Voidwalker's not bad. Null Rod's great. I think Engineer Explosives is not super great. I still bring in Meltdown when I'm playing Grixis Control, but I don't think this is one of our better tools. And most good Storm players won't really expose themselves to Meltdown style effects. If they show us Urza's Saga, then I'll think about Engineered Explosives, but for now I don't think it's necessary. And we can just trim the slower stuff, like, I know I brought this Douthie Voidwalker in, maybe it's not necessary. Fatal Push is not necessary. Tamiyo's not really the right kind of card. Neither is Bowmasters when you really think about it. Brazen Borrower. Maybe a Daze on the draw. But I think Daze is still pretty good here. Do we ever cut one of the monsters? Probably not. Thoughtseizes while we're on the draw. Maybe 1 Bowmasters, and then I don't think that they're, well, sometimes they play Leyline of the Void, right? I can't speak. I think Tamiyo, I'd rather have less of those and 2 Brazen Borrowers. I don't know what they might be packing. I'll keep this hand. This deck was so busted when it had Grief. Imagine being able to pitch the other Entomb you don't need. It's probably good Grief is not in the format. Both players keep in 7. Pretty cool that we won on a Mold of 4. I mean, it was a very specific reason why we did. We were both playing all-in decks, and I happened to have Force of Will and they didn't. So it's actually It makes a lot of sense. Alright, I'm going to try to ponder into Reanimate blue card here. I guess Animate Dead is fine enough, but that means I can Thoughtseize next turn? Not really. No, it doesn't. Not to mention, a start like this usually means Veil of Summer. Okay. But yeah, I can't imagine pitching the redundant Entomb to a Grief, Dazing Veil of Summer. Well, they did not fetch green mana there. They might have another land in hand. Mox Opal hits the yard. Street Wraith. Lion's Eye Diamond. Chromox. They wouldn't be doing this if they didn't want to use the storm they are currently generating. There's a Burning Wish under there. It might be hard to catch them with a Daze, though. Although if they have to use Lion's Eye Diamond to pay for Daze, I guess you could get them with a Force Will at that point. And they're passing. Alright, pass it back. Feels kind of nice to have a Hydroblast available. There's the green mana. Cabal Ritual resolves. Another Cabal Ritual. Shoot, now they can pay for Daze. If they cast Beseech the Mirror right now. Well, this is a choke point. But it won't even really frickin' matter. Maybe it will. I don't know. Daze that. They'll just have to hope that I don't have it. Hold on a second. What are they gonna do? Well, they can't cast Echo of A or Beseech the Mirror anymore. I need to force. Because the last card they have could be Wheel. It is. I guess I'll play Bowmasters. Puts lethal on board. And they wheeled me into a force. They have 3 black floating, which is pretty scary. If I did not cast Bowmasters, I could have held up Consign, which is also cool. Lion's Eye Diamond, yep. Lion's Eye Diamond, Mox Opal, sure. Lotus Petal, uh-oh. Do they have the Tendrils in hand? Thassa's Oracle? That's a blocker. So this must be like a Doomsday Storm deck. Now the Street Raids make sense. If I knew it was going to end there, I should have forced. Okay, I cast Brainstorm. Brazen Borrower is so close. I guess I'm cool with just holding up Consign and Force of Will to their 2-card hand. Actually seems pretty good. If they produce another chump blocker, Brazen Borrower should do it. Getting the GGs. Okay. I don't presume the Storm matchup is always going to be that good, but it definitely went well for us this time. Things just kind of got super all in the first game, and then in game 2 we were able to find what we needed off the wheel, and their wheel did not deliver, but they could have easily won game 2 there if their Echo delivered them a payoff in a Veil of Summer, because that would have been able to beat our Force of Will. But yeah, crazy. We are 2-1. Time for match number 4 in this educational league. Now, this is something that doesn't happen too often because the deck actually has a pretty healthy amount of lands. We'll go ahead and mulligan. And yeah, I think this hand is defensible. It's got half the combo and a very distracting card. So we'll keep in bottom Underground Sea. Fell Mire. Chrome Mox. Beseech the Mirror. And pass. Okay. You know, I think I'd rather just have Daze and Tamiyo or Force of Will available. Doesn't really seem like this is the kind of game where Tamiyo is going to be all that important. Let's bin Brazen Barber. If they go like land Beseech the Mirror next turn, honestly, I'm not really sure what that would accomplish, but I guess they could get like Song of Creation and cast a Lotus Petal as their last card or something. I don't know. If they try to wheel, I think we got them. Entomb? Entomb? No. Alright, send it back. We have time to figure this out, but not as much as you might think, since Reanimate does cost quite a bit of life to resolve in a meaningful way. And we'll take one. Ah, jeez. I'm gonna Surveil right now, and if the other half of my combo is like right there, I'm just gonna force this. Okay. You know what? We'll just treat this like a wash. I think the god tier pick is Tamiyo. But yeah, at that point, I think I'd just reanimate it. The Thoughtseize bug is real, folks. Alright, now seeing that I can hardcast Daze, let's commit this blocker to the board. Double my time on this planet. It's very nice. And yeah, they want to push damage. I'm blocking Bowmasters, because if I block the army and they play another copy of Bowmasters, it'd be very annoying. Ah, crap. It's super dangerous to force this, so I guess I just won't. They could just take force here, though, and then wheel, and deal me quite a bit of damage. But they already went through combat, so I don't think that's on the table. They took Daze. And now they're playing more Bowmasters. I see, I see. Entomb? Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one right there. It's only a 5/5, but it's still the biggest creature on board. And then I could just reanimate Brazen Barber. They're at 13. Sure. Let's see if we can get over the line. I love getting over the line. And then I draw the Entomb. What the hell, man? Yeah, we attack with both. Might scare them from bolting in a land there. Alright. And that's the insane power of this deck. You play tempo unless you have the option not to. So in a lot of ways, if you are attacking this as a control deck, you do almost want to just fight it as a tempo deck and not ignore the combo, but hopefully not run into it. Yeah, maybe if I feel like the last how to control video also kind of backfired because it became more apparent that falling behind is a pretty bad thing to do in Legacy, and playing from behind is never that enviable of a position, which I guess makes sense. Like, I don't think that's a very revolutionary statement. And now I think this might be a good illustration of why this is the best deck in the format. But it is fun to take on as a control deck, I will say that. And now we get to see the other side. So we definitely want... What do we want? Black Saga Storm. Null Rod's not bad. Maybe I'll just fight it like a control deck on the draw, though. Go like that, and then... I don't think I want Fatal Push. I think I'd rather have Engineered Explosives for Saga Constructs. And then I don't think Voidwalker's that bad either. Can trim a Tamiyo. Consign is like okay. Yeah, maybe I'd rather have this Consign over a third Thoughtseize on the draw. That makes sense. Has Force of Will. It's not that bad of a hand. Opponent's also keeping 7. It also is one of those cool like graveyard juke hands. Vault of Whispers. Duress. They'll probably take Force of Will. Might get wheeled here. They do take Force. Mox Opal. Lion's Eye Diamond. Cabal Therapy will probably name Brainstorm. And then a pass. Okay. There's an Entomb. Yeah. That's a pretty good draw. Saga. Saga will pass. Could get Bowmastered here, but the goal is that we just do something that's more powerful than what they're doing. Not evident yet. I think I'm gonna put Voidwalker back. I think Murktide could potentially be bigger than the constructs, and then Petty Theft is pretty good against it. I want to hold Bowmasters as like a removal spell. And then Entomb is too powerful to leave on the table. It makes a lot of my top decks. It turns a lot of my top decks from bad to really, really good. And I suppose I cast it right now. Grab Atraxa. See if I hit. No. I think I'll play Murktide. I think it will be bigger than whatever they have. If they have something like Aether Spellbomb, it's kind of a problem. They're gonna float. I'll activate. And I'm gonna bin Voidwalker. Pedal. Thought sees me. Take Brazen Borrower. Now they'll probably Beseech for Gaia's Will. And that diamond will give them the mana to win via Storm. So if you think about it, this deck is not that different from ours. They have like a really strong creature plan with Saga tokens and Bowmasters and stuff, but they can also just like combo out of nowhere, much like us. So on the play, I think this just comes down to racing. I think their interaction is pretty much limited to Thoughtseize, so Force Negation's pretty good. Daze is pretty good. Don't think we want Voidwalker or even Bowmasters that much. And then I'd rather have Null Rod than Murktide. I think I'd rather have Thoughtseize than Murktide in general. Haha. Jeez. It's tough. It sends it on Archon. Can we do better? It's really hard to evaluate hands like this. It's pretty much just like asking your opponent to be able to beat this. And I'm sure they can a lot of the time. I think I'd rather interact. Yeah, like I think this is better in its own weird way. Send it back. Saga. Nile Spellbomb. I'll daze that. Cast Entomb first. Okay. Can I rip Reanimate? It happens sometimes. EE. Honestly, not bad. I should brainstorm right now. Before they can Bowmasters annoyingly. Alright, hide explosives on top. So we'll get Thoughtseize there. Boots. Okay. There's something distressingly sad about engineered explosives now until they do different Saga stuff. Not to mention, if they have another silver bullet with their Saga, like Soul Guide Lantern, maybe another bomb, I don't know. Okay. Was a little bit of a long shot. Is this a win? Oh, Song of Creation. Yeah, this is probably gonna win. That'll do it. I mean, we could still pull off the 2-3 here. We could keep the series consistent. Time for the final round in this educational league, up against an 80-card deck. I will be shocked if there's no Yorion revealed. And there is a Yorion revealed. Let's mulligan this. Yeah, I think this will do all right. I'm not sure if I'm really supposed to keep the Bowmasters or the second Ponder. I think I'm going to keep the second Ponder. And we'll be on the hunt for that Entomb. Let's shuffle. It's okay, we got one more Ponder. Now the real question, do I daze an Aether Vial? I think so. They're not going to make us do it. Or they're playing around daze consciously. I also got a draw step to find Entomb. Oh, great. We can add Brainstorm to the list of stuff I want. Yeah, I'll just shuffle again. Take a Thoughtseize. Or I could Thoughtseize myself. Duh! Oh my god. Okay, whatever. Wasteland? Yes, I'll keep that. Gosh. It's like you forget what cards do for a second. Shadowy Backstreet. Likely Death and Taxes, which is certainly a breed of control deck. Alright, we have dodged Thalia, but not Felia. Let's start with Wasteland and see what that baits out. Okay. Seems like they're F6'd. Go ahead and reanimate. Atraxa, we're in there. I'll take kind of an interesting spread here. Probably Wasteland. I think I'd rather have Orcish Bowmasters than Brazen Borrower. I'd probably rather have Fatal Push over Entomb. Is that true? I get this Ponder for free, that's cool. Daze is also a consideration. Yeah, I think I'll take Daze and just try and win with 2 Dazes and attacking 3 times. It's not impossible. Solitude? Yeah, this is what you need 2 Dazes for. I made this mistake the last time I recorded with her Scamnator. I didn't really fight to protect my scam threat, and that was a huge mistake. Now from the control perspective, if they follow up with another Solitude, because they have full information right now, or Swords to Plowshares even, they've made some pretty big strides towards stability, and I'll kind of need to go off again. And the deck's power is greatly diminished if my opponent is able to get some resources under them and execute their game plan. Felia doesn't really want to blink Atraxa out of the way for an attack though, because when it comes back it can possibly generate quite a bit of card advantage. Stoneforge Mystic. Card's pretty good. They could get Phantom Blade. Pre-war Formal Wear doesn't quite work here. Yeah, there's Phantom Blade. That can destroy Atraxa, which is kind of okay. We don't want it exiled, basically. Force of Will is a great draw. But there's some fear that I will not be able to find a blue card off this Ponder. We'll definitely get our 14-point life swing in. That's a given. It's a bit of a leg up. And then I don't think I'm going to be too concerned with the opposing Wasteland. They need a black source. No, they don't need a black source. Oh, I should have taken that Fatal Push, huh? Well, then I wouldn't even have this Atraxa in the first place. Okay, let's Ponder. Murktide Regent. That could be the final few points. We gotta go for it. I think if they had something like Swords to Plowshares, they wouldn't have gone for Phantom Blade. Now I gotta decide if I want to Wasteland that or play Murktide. I think it's definitely play Murktide. The long game is not going to go my way. And then on top of that, I need to worry about stuff like Yorion blinking Phantom Blade. We have to end the game before that, or counter Yorion. There's a lot of stuff we gotta do, you know. I don't think they'll let me get this damage through. Certainly not. Yep. Alright. You know, additional Murktide after that would be very helpful as well. There's a lot of instants / sorceries in my graveyard. I guess not quite enough for lethal though. That would give this one +2/+2. Close though with the Bowmaster ping. We're like almost there. Thoughtseize? Yeah, we let it go. Thinking they'll take Force of Will, and then we'll just really hope that they can't. Oh, they take Brazen Barber? I guess that's just as good as taking Force of Will right now, if they have a removal spell. Felia. Felia blinking Phantom Blade. That's what we gotta avoid. They are at 10 now, though. But I can't draw Murktide for the final points, because they wastelanded me. Daze? Okay, I think we can do this. I think I play Wasteland, and then they'll be very incentivized to attack with Felia, blink Phantom Blade. They'll probably hold Stoneforge back to block Bowmasters and add something else to the board to block the army, because I'll ping them, and then I'll force whatever that is. Their mana might be compromised as well if they're sitting on like a fetch land or something. Flicker Wisp. I think I'll daze it actually. This doesn't go wrong, right? Maybe I should have floated the mana. Okay. I think probably what happened was what I surmised. I'm not sure what their last two cards were. In 80 card Yorion decks, it is kind of hard to deduce. But yeah, it could have been like a fetch land or who knows. It feels really bad to try and control this deck. I think I might just want to be more threat dense. But that doesn't really make sense against a deck with swords and solitude. When I'm playing Grixis control, I side out anything that's like big and susceptible, but you don't really have that option. You just have to hope that your cards are pretty good into swords, like Archon and Nitraxa are definitely getting more than a 1-for-1 trade. Orcish Bowmasters is the same thing. And then, but like Baragorth and Voidwalker, it doesn't work like that for them. Unless they only swords it after some time. So I do see the argument for being threat dense. And then of course, threats with Flash also seem incredibly good. I think I'll need Fatal Push for Hate Bears. Maybe even Bitter Triumph. What does that lead to cut? Probably the more like resource intensive, but still big dumb creatures for lack of a better term. So yeah, maybe one Baragorth and then no dazes. I'm reticent to trim a land, but I am on the draw. And I don't really want to wasteland them. So maybe I can retain a Daze or a Baragorth. I think Daze is still pretty good against this deck. They do things pretty slowly. Unless they have Aether Vial. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Consign is more for like the big colorless decks and less for decks like this. But we can reevaluate for game 3. Let's mulligan this hand. And before anyone says that's what you get for siding out a land, it was a wasteland I sided out. I don't think anyone's jumping to say that. This hand is not great either, but I'm on the draw. I think having more resources is good. It's not like this hand does nothing. Karakas is scary. Aether Vial, let's just force it. I'm not messing around. That will greatly slow them down. Okay, okay. I see, that's pretty good. I don't think I need Bitter Triumph. I have this Fatal Push. I need something more proactive. Ugh. Even Stoneforge Mystic would be pretty bad for me. It's Emperor of Bones? That's not a bad reanimation target. I think I would push that and reanimate it even. is just that cool of a card. But like I said, like I need my reanimate targets to generate some kind of card advantage. And this is very predictable graveyard hate. It's not quite as bad as Hidetsugu Consumes All, but it's in the same ballpark. Like if I had ripped an Entomb right there, they would have been nearly powerless. You know, Tamiyo's not bad either. I don't think I would play it this turn. And then if I'm just planning on dazing, yeah, maybe that's fine actually. Oh no, hold on. Caracas. Honestly, not that bad though. It's kind of like a conditional or a wasteland we each agree to, in a sense. People also call it Rashadan Port, a two-way Rashadan Port. And they might think they're getting away with murder here, but I don't have Murktide Regent in the deck, so it's all good. No attack is incredibly interesting. Hurts to waste that mana. Does that mean Orcish Bowmasters, maybe? Play Tamiyo. Unless they try to Caracas before my second main phase, though, it also doesn't quite work, since Emperor Bones could just attack Tamiyo. Yep. That might have prevented Bowmasters from entering. There goes Ponder. I wonder why they didn't attack last turn. It's very interesting. They're holding off on that Adapt as well. If they wasteland, I'm definitely drawing that land. If they don't, I think I'm still just drawing that land. Okay, that Vial, I guess, can enter. I don't have a whole lot to say about it anyways. Alright. Do it again. Okay. Let's daze. I think I want to use an untapped land though, which means I'll push this first. Singleton Daze. A lot of people don't play around it when their opponent is on the draw, so hopefully this isn't more good insight into this matchup. I mean, I could be playing wrong. I'm certainly not a Riskaminator master or expert or anything that is a simile of those two words, but I feel like having a Singleton Daze is pretty frightening, because at that point your opponent's kind of like, well, how many more do they have? It's at that point they really desire full information. Overlord the Baelmerk is a great target for Reanimate, but I gotta let it go. I'm assuming they're going to get the Emperor Bones back, but Bowmasters is also very good here. Yeah, they do take the Bowmasters. So yeah, we're kind of running out of time to do stuff, especially if they have Felia. If they don't have Felia, if I don't win in 5 turns, like, we're not going to win. So I'm not worried about that so much. Fatal Push, okay. Are they going to give me a clue? They are? That's really interesting. And now in some ways, like, I think I just brainstormed to move my game forward. And this is distracting enough that if I hit Entomb, or even Force of Will, it's kind of all upside. I hit Animate Dead. Alright, I don't think I want Animate Dead. I think I'd rather have Bowmasters Reanimate. I definitely want Brainstorm. And I think I even do it right now. Okay, cool. It gives me 1 extra card to brainstorm with, which I will do right now. We found the Entomb, baby. I think I just play the Tamiyo back out though, and then out of respect for Thoughtseize, we want them to Violin Bowmasters and spend their mana doing something about Tamiyo. If they wasteland me, I can't crack a clue to Entomb Reanimate, so I need to keep one of these things on top, or in my hand. Should probably be the Reanimate. I don't fully expect this to work either. Like, they might have like Fairy Macabre. I don't know what the preferred type of graveyard hate is, but whatever it is, I think they probably have it. Or at least Swords to Plowshares. Okay, step 1 accomplished. That's good. And then they're just passing. I'm guessing they probably have Containment Priest at this point. But I mean, I feel like we ought to bait it out. Alright, activate this clue. Okay, vialing in Bowmasters is kind of insane, right? I think that means they don't have Containment Priest, right? Wouldn't they want to cast Bowmasters and then vial in Containment Priest so it doesn't get countered? I guess we'll see. I don't know. That just worked. Do they have swords? Path to Exile. You know what? I'll take it. I hope I don't lose. Entomb, Animate Dead, Brazen Borrower probably, Wasteland, and Ponder. That force is tempting, but I don't think I can afford to. I got to keep moving forward here. I need a really good card, like Archon of Cruelty, basically. Dump this Delta. It's likely I won't even be able to afford to use it. Animate Dead has its downsides. Man, they're keeping the vial on 2. A lot of interesting stuff going on here. Alright, I'm at 3. That's the other thing. If they just played more Bowmasters, that would have been another 2 points of damage in combat, which would have meant Force of Will is not even pitch castable. They put Yorion in their hand. That is the end game I cannot beat. But I do have Wasteland for Caracas, so there's that as well. Okay. So how much mana do I need here? 3 for the combo. Ideally, I'm clearing Bowmasters. And I can't have Bowmasters and Brazen Borrower anyways, so yeah, let's just Wasteland the Caracas then. Caracas, another reason why, like, maybe Atraxa wasn't a great choice. Alright. Cast Entomb. Get the Archon. Animate Dead. Target Archon of Cruelty. Yeah? Yeah. Alright, now we'll play Bowmasters. Ping Bowmasters. I had to do it that way because, you know, gotta bounce Containment Priest if they vial that in. They drop Yorion. I guess they're far enough away from casting that it doesn't seem realistic. Activate Aether Vial. Stoneforge. Uh-oh. Phantom Blade again? Are they going to go for Kaldra? I don't think they can really raise Kaldra. I think they also know about this Brazen Borrower. Yeah. Pre-war Formalware. You know, that can't get Witch Enchanter, but Witch Enchanter can normally blow up Animate Dead. Thought sees me. Yep. Probably gonna lose force here. Solitude. Oh, they needed a white card for Solitude. Alright. That's the Monster Squad. All gone. But they got us quite a bit of grind for their efforts. But now I need to get over the line somehow, and they're at 14. I don't think it'll be that hard. Yorion is gone for them as well. Both sides lost considerable endgame engines. I got another force. I think flipping Tamia is probably the easiest way to do this. And they have another Caracas, so yeah, it's not really going to work, is it? I love realizing things when it's too late. Let's just try and Bowmaster this out, or Brazen Borrower it out. I need to bounce Overlord, obviously, which is not a great feeling. So yeah, this turn will probably just be push Stoneforge, and then I could also Brainstorm in response to Caracas. Yeah, I probably don't need to deal with Stoneforge just yet. I think this is the best line. I wonder if anyone's ever entombed Baraglyph. I'm also realizing if they put their Vial up to 5, I won't be able to counter Overlord, but they kept it at 3. Also, if I reanimate Witch Enchanter, I can destroy Overlord. Alright, Petty Theft there. And now Let's cast Fatal Push. And do I get a clue? Now it seems pretty difficult for them to like stop Tamiyo from flipping. Like I can really force the issue by casting this Ponder. It'll cost me all my mana this turn, and there's no blue card here, so let's shuffle. Get Thoughtseize anyways. Brainstorm. I guess they could just tap Caracas right afterwards. Yeah, that didn't make any sense. I don't know what I'm doing. That's not a very good Brainstorm either. Now I have a blue card for my force, I guess. Ay, ay, ay. I owe everyone a huge apology. You know, even though Caracas is a legendary land, you probably play 3 to 4 copies. It seems very good these days. Are they going to cast Overlord? I will counter it. But they're probably thinking about days. They're going to impend it. Clocker card, clocker card. I think clocking is so important. Their endgame is devastating. Try and get there. Oh yeah, that's right. Terrible draw. That we knew was there, shuffle. Brazen Bar was awesome. This could be the old Entomb for Entomb deal, but I think there are no more Brainstorms in my deck. Never mind. This is a long game. So funny when I was like, if I don't win the game in 5 turns, I'm not going to be able to win at all. It turned out to not be true because I got both of my big monsters ETBs to resolve, and that was a big deal. Alright. Brazen Barber. Put lethal on board. Sure. And yeah, now we just Entomb for Entomb. That classic play. Reanimate. I'll take that Overlord. Or hold on. If I hit for 4, Reanimate Yorion, Blink, Bowmasters, Bowmasters, it only puts them to 1. And then they can return it to their hand with Caracas, so that's pretty bad. Yeah, I'll take Overlord. Another messed up thing. There's no creatures in my yard to get back. That was good enough for them. Alright. Well, can't call us a true how to play control video because we didn't go 2-3, but I really wanted to do this to try and illustrate how it's very helpful to see the inner workings of decks that you find daunting or matchups that seem problematic from a control standpoint. And really, there's no better example than Blue-Black Reanimator in a lot of ways, just because it's so efficiently able to present this game-winning combo, huge damage creatures, unbeatable card advantage for most decks, but at the same time it's able to play a very respectable creature game thanks to powerful 1-drops like Tamiyo, powerful virtual 2-drops like Murktide Regent, Orcish Bowmasters. At the end of the day, creatures are just very powerful. If you're playing a control deck in Legacy and you want to beat decks like this, you kind of do have to see how it works from the inside, because if you're on the other side just guessing, I think we saw that earlier in the league where opponent was probably mulliganing looking for a way to stop my combo, while we just had a perfectly normal value hand of creatures and cantrips and Force of Will and things like that. If I had to sum it up in one way, I would look to see what your hand is capable of beating, and from there eliminate things that are only going to distract you. If you're able to stop their reanimation but not able to compete with any of their creatures, then I think you should put them on combo and try and play to a game you can actually win. It's also very helpful that these decks are starting to get more solved and codified, and that the 4 Tamiyo is more stock for Blue-Black Reanimator. For a while, there was just kind of this amorphous blue-black sphere that had like Nethergoyf, Barragoyf, Tamiyo, Entomb Reanimate, Animate Dead, Orcish Bowmasters, Kaito Bane of Nightmares, and they seem to kind of freely flow between. It was a lot worse when Psychic Frog and Troll of Khazad-dûm were also in the format, since those cards synergize super well with reanimation play patterns. And now it's a lot easier to categorize what kind of blue-black tempo deck you're playing against, but it will still be a challenge. Not gonna lie to you. It's the best deck in the format for a reason. Though I'll say personally for me, just playing through that league has made the deck seem a lot more beatable, even though our record was very good. We didn't win every single game, so it can be done. Don't get daunted. Don't let it get you down. Just approach the matchup with the same zeal you approach matchups you consider favorable, and that attitude goes a long way. Cool. I think we'll end it there. I promise, next video will be Grixis Control. We'll get to the big one, how to play Control in Legacy. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. I'll see y'all next time.